What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Sheehan Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And today, I'm here after the bell at PFL 8 2024 to review the card. And I'll tell you what, it was a very, very good card. There was some fantastic fights in this, some good finishes. And even the fights that went to decision were, for the most part, very, very good. I really, really enjoyed the main event. Through 2 rounds anyway. Okay, the third round maybe wasn't exactly... you know, Melinda Sanchez, but the first 2, I'm telling you, very much were. And I even thought about it. I didn't hit the tweet button, but I was thinking fight of the year after the second round. Now, I think the third round kind of took away from it a little bit, but it was a very good fight. And we'll get into that here as we go. But it's interesting semi-finals night, I suppose, and obviously we've 3 of them, so it's a little bit different than a semi-finals night, if you want to put it that way. But I would say a very good night for the PFL. I suppose one of the stars getting through in the light heavyweight division, maybe the one that would have wanted not getting through, but I think probably the lightweights went the way they maybe would have wanted to go on. And on the undercard, some interesting fights and some future stars, I think, emerging as well. And, you know, if you need a few for the finale, I think you probably have them as well. So all in all, a very, very good night for the PFL. And without further ado, let's get straight into it here. So the main event was Impa Kasanganay versus Joshua Silveira, one half of the light heavyweight semi-finals. As we know, these two had fought, what did I say? It was 10 months ago or something like that, but in the last year or so anyway. And Kasanganay had won that fight, but this fight was a lot different. Joshua Silveira was a lot more competitive in this fight and fought. He fought a winning fight, right? He didn't win, but he fought a winning fight, and I thought it was very, very, very close the whole way through, as were a lot of the fights on Friday night. Again, this fight, as I said, we'll get to some of the ones later. It came down to, at some points, one shot, one left hook, one right hand. Do you think this left hook was more powerful than this right hand? And when that happens, you know, when that happens in a lot of fights, it's like, well, one guy can be unfortunate, the other guy maybe can be fortunate. But for this one, I look at it a little bit differently. And when you look at Joshua Silveira, although, you know, he's in his 30s now and everything, and he's been fighting now for a few years, but to me, I look at him and I still see him as a younger fighter, a newer fighter, a guy who is maybe a couple of years away from his prime. And for this sort of performance out of him compared to what we had a year ago or 80 months ago, whenever it was, I thought it was phenomenal, really. I thought he fought really, really well, because I also think Impa has expanded his horizons. He's expanded his game as a mixed martial artist. And for Silveira to be able to go with that and compete, I think it was a great performance out of him, great performance out of both of them, because for Impa to live with that and to come out on the winning side shows a very good performance from him as well. I know a lot of people who watch this show are very big Impa Kasanganay fans, as I am myself, and it was a great performance out of him here. So let's get into the fight itself. Started off, you know what? Dan Hardy's such a great analyst. He wasn't shocked by how this fight started, I think, and maybe it's because he talked to Joshua Silveira and stuff like that, and maybe had half a guess, but I was kind of shocked by how aggressive Silveira was early. Now, if he came out and he was aggressive with takedowns or whatever, maybe not so much, but the fact that he was aggressive with punches, the fact that he was walking into Kasanganay's world and saying, look, I'm here, I'm game, let's do it, I was shocked by that. And impressed in similar levels, because it's not easy to do that against someone like Kasanganay, and he absolutely did it. Now, Kasanganay, met him, and it was a very good fight. As I said, those first 2 rounds were fantastic. Both landed lovely body kicks early. The aggression of Silveira was a thing that stood out, but Impa was kind of touching him with hooks throughout the start of that first round. He landed a head kick after a lovely left hook as well, did Impa. But Josh was landing these lovely teeps to the body, landing a few leg kicks, but then Impa was kind of rocked and fell to the canvas. Now, it's one of those ones, I think they showed it in the replay, and I still wasn't kind of sure, and I think, was it Randy maybe or Sean O'Connell was commentating over it, and I think they weren't sure. Tough one, and again, that's one of those, if a judge looks at it and it's straight on and he sees the punch, that round might go to Joshua Silveira. If it doesn't, it's just a slip he caught him, but it's not a great impact, that round might go to Impa Kasanganay. Literally, I think it was that close. So that was a big part of the round. And I'm honestly, you can bring in your VAR and all this. You'd need 3 or 4 camera angles to look at that one to 100% no. And even then, you know, I think he did catch him and he did fall over. But was he rocked? Was it a big impact? A tough one to judge that. But Silveira was throwing loads after that. The Impa hit him, and I thought he rocked Joshua a little bit as well. Joshua was landing some nice knees. I think it's a big thing to look at. And I don't want to get into a big judging discussion here, but whenever I speak to judges, they always tell me, how do you assert or ascertain even the amount of damage or impact that shots have put on the victim of the shots? And they always tell me, like, look at what happens just after that, right? And I think for both of them actually, but for Silveira especially in this first round, after Impa rocked him, he came straight back and he was landing on his knees. You know, there was really no big ill effects. So I think that one, even though he did rock him, even though he did hit him hard, I don't know what I score it maybe as highly based on what judges have kind of said to me. That's neither here nor there. He did hit him hard and it should score, but there was dirty boxing from both. Impa was in the clinch and the mad pace finally slowed at that. Impa landed a body late, and then Josh landed one as well. I leaned Joshua Silveira in that one. I thought the shot that put Impa down was a good shot, and I gave it to him kind of based on that and those knees, I think, after Impa had rocked him to show that he kind of came back a bit. But if you'd gone to Impa there, no problem at all. I scored the next 2 rounds for Impa, and I scored him winning 29-28. So in the second round, Josh was thrown to start the second round, but getting countered. And Impa was in the first round as well, but not in a way where Joshua was having no success and Impa was having all the success. And I thought that's the way it was early in the second. Now we'll get through the rest of it here in a second. But I thought the best part for Silveira, though, was, like we said, you know, from the first fight he lost it, and he had the balls, the chutzpah to come back and put on this performance here. It's the same thing. This is a microcosm, because it worked. It didn't work well for him in the start of this round, but he kept going. He kept going through it, and then in the end it benefited him, because then he started landing his couple of shots. But the fight got to the clinch then. Joshua was in the clinch for a while, but I thought Impa upped the volume in the middle of that second round. Landed a good few shots, and I think the middle part of that round really turned the fight, because I don't think Silveira could just live with the couple of shots or the volume and the power of the shots that Impa was landing there. Joshua was landing some leg kicks, but you know, they were good, but not good enough. Impa landed a right hand, and then there was a period I remember thinking to myself, Jesus, Joshua hasn't landed a good shot here in 2 minutes. And he did land a nice body kick after that, and then he landed a lovely 5-punch combination. Impa got into the clinch, then he landed a few knees to the body, landed a combination of his own, and I think that maybe kind of evened up what Joshua had just done, and then Impa was ahead based on what happened before. But late in that round, Joshua did land a left hand and did land an uppercut. I think Big John might have leaned the second for Joshua. Again, I leaned to Impa, but again, very, very close. Very, very close. I wouldn't be surprised if people had it 1-1 going into the third, and some people had the first for Impa and the second for Josh. Some people had the first for Josh, second for Impa. Or you know, a lot of people probably had it 2018 either way. In my opinion, it was that close. Now, the betting didn't really show that. The betting thought Impa was massively ahead, but I didn't think so. But anyway, early in the third, both were kind of playing sniper on the feet, and I actually kind of liked that little 45-second period there. Both landed. I honestly thought both looked good there, but I thought Joshua just got the better of it, but then there was a clinch. Impa was in control. There was a ref break. Josh got the body kick and left hook, and at that point I'm kind of saying, well, not much has happened here. But Silveira is just in front. I'm like, is he going to win the decision? But he went for a takedown, then it was no good. There was a clinch, and then Impa picked a couple after that clinch on the break, and I was like, okay, those are better than what Joshua's landed. And like, I thought Impa took over a little bit from that point. He landed a huge right hand, and if the fight was even before the right hand, Impa went streaking ahead after that, got into the clinch. He landed a few shots in the break, then he landed a trip takedown. Joshua got up immediately, but I think, there was no doubt about the third round, Impa did win that. especially that big right hand, it was just too much. So, you know, if you had 29-28 Silveira, I'd have no problem with it. Or 30-27 Impa, I'd have no problem with it either. I had a 29-28 Impa based on the second and the third round. So very, very good fight, very competitive fight, especially through 2 rounds. And Impa goes on in the finale. Who will he meet in the finale? He'll meet Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov after he beat Rob Wilkinson in the co-main event here. We'll get straight into it. Very interesting fight. You know, Rob Wilkinson pushed forward early with right hands. He took the center, and Yagshimuradov was off with his counters. And I was thinking here, okay, I pick Yagshimuradov coming in. I thought he'd be able to get his wrestling going, maybe power shots. And after like a minute, 90 seconds in, I was like, no, this is not going to happen here. Wilkinson was pushing this, but it very quickly changed to become an even fight. Yagshimuradov was pushing him back a bit after a right hand kind of buzzed past Wilkinson. I don't think it landed, but I think he knew what was on it as it kind of buzzed past his head. Yagshimuradov was countering better than at that stage. And I thought in the first round, and this kind of changed a little bit, Wilkinson was a tad faster. You know, if Yagshimuradov is on 85 speed, Wilkinson was on like 90 speed, maybe type of thing, you know, just a tad faster. And it was enough to save him in the first 2 or 3 minutes of that first round. But then they both started to land. Both landed in an exchange. It was a tense fight. Not much landing. Both looking like they were going to land something big. But then there was a big right-left by Yagshimuradov, which is the best punches of that round by far. Yagshimuradov didn't go for went for a takedown twice, didn't work twice. Rob landed a few jabs, close, but I think the right hand of Yagshimuradov took that first round. Second round, Rob was jabbing more. Yagshimuradov was looking for the big one, and again, the first 90 seconds of this round, maybe a little bit less, were going for Rob Wilkinson. I thought he looked the better. Yagshimuradov was looking for that big shot too much, as I said. But then he started to land a few jabs. There was very little at the halfway point, though, you know, and then Yagshimuradov landed 2 right hands, not a load on him, but then a 1-2 again. This 1-2 by Yagshimuradov was by far the best shots of the round. Rob landed a right hand as he cut the cage, which was nice. Both landed some jabs in, and there was a wheel kick from Yagshimuradov that kind of half landed. Went for takedown, no good, as he did in all the rounds. But I think he did win that round after both landed a little bit late. In the third, then, very, very little happened in the third. Yagshimuradov 1-2 a minute in was the first kind of foray into this round. He landed a leg kick after that. And Wilkinson was just looking at him too much. You know, they said on the commentary he just needs to let his hands go a little bit. And it's very easy for me to say here, you know, 4,000 miles away or whatever, to here, lad, show your hands. But God Almighty, you're in the semi-final. You're going to be fighting for $1 million. You have to. And he just didn't do it, you know. And Yagshimuradov landed his jab, landed a right hand. Rob hit him with a body kick, but there was a huge right hand from Yagshimuradov. Again, that one big shot in every round, and then the shot right by Rob was a nice shot, actually. And then they both jabbed. Again, the late takedown for Yagshimuradov was no good, but again, I thought Yagshimuradov won that round, and I thought he won all 3 rounds. Now, could you have scored all 3 rounds for Wilkinson, or a couple of rounds for Wilkinson? You could. I'd have no problem with that at all, but this was one of those fights, I think, you know, if you're talking to one of the best judges in the world, he's scoring a 30-27 for Yagshimuradov. If you're talking to you know, the 15th best in the world, he might give a round the other way, or he might give it to Wilkinson. You know, this is a tough fight to score, but I think, you know, the best judge got it right, and they did get it right here, and the winner was Yagshimuradov via unanimous decision. So the finale will be Yagshimuradov and Impa Kasanganay, and obviously we'll talk a lot more about that in future shows. Then we had the lightweights, which were a little bit more straightforward. Both of these fights not nearly as close. Although the first round in Gadzhi Rabadanov and Michael Dufort was very close, and actually Dufort won it, I believe, which was interesting on the judges' cards. So there was a jab and a straight right from Dufort early, and he landed a lovely 1-2, and it was a great start from nothing from Rabadanov early. Dufort was winning, but the jabs and the lead hooks from Rabadanov were starting to land, both jabbing very well. I thought Rabadanov's shots were just a little bit harder And you look at the face of Dufort, and it was just reddening up a little bit. Dufort took a step back and started throwing leg kicks and took the range battle away, and that was very smart. I think very, very high fight IQ, something in the other semi-final, which we didn't see. But then Dufort went for a takedown. It was no good. Rabadanov got a takedown of his own, got a quarter mount, and then Dufort went from the guillotine. Now, I could see a world where judges look at this guillotine and go, well, and again, speaking to judges, they always tell me, what forces the guy to defend? And this really did force Gadzhi Rabadanov to defend a lot for, if it was in, I don't know how long, maybe a minute. I think for the first 45 seconds, 30 seconds maybe, he did look in trouble. Now, did I think he was going to tap? And he said maybe not, but it was really forcing him to defend. He wasn't doing what he would want to do in that position. And I do think Dufort deserves credit for that, and he deserves scoring for that. So I have no problem at all with Dufort getting that first round on the judges' cards, but it mattered for a little. Second round, Dufort was kind of going in and out, but not much was kind of landing either way. Dufort failed on a takedown, and then Rabadanov landed a massive left hook, kind of a leaping left hook, Mark Hunt style, knocked him down and finished him with ground and pound. I saw a couple of people giving out about the referee. He could have been a little bit faster in. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, to be honest, but not the worst I've seen, but a lovely left hook, kind of stepping, leaping left hook, got down low and came up high. Beautiful shot from Rabadanov, and he's in the finale. Who will he be meeting there? It'll be Brent Primus, who, even though I picked Clay Collard coming in this week, I did early doors pick Brent Primus to get there. And again, it was a Brent Primus type of display, a type of fight. Came out and threw a leg kick. Clay was jabbing and tried to control it. And, myself and Mr. Pendleton on the preview were talking about that, that Clay Collard said he wants to fight a slower fight. And I think maybe he gave away too much. Maybe Brent Primus listened to that and heard it and was like, no, I'm not allowing him to do that. And he didn't. He really didn't. And we'll get into the whole fight in a second, but just the overview of this fight was Collard tried to fight a cool, calm, collected display. Brent Primus didn't allow him to do that, and from that second on, Collard lost the head. He rushed into everything, no fight IQ, and any chances he did have, he threw them away himself. So Brent Primus fought very well, but Collard, it was a bad night at the office for Collard. This is not one he'd want to watch back. So just to go through it, as I said, leg kicks and a few jabs early and a bit of control from Clay Collard, but slow on the outside and too slow. I'm like, come on, you need to land a few jabs. You need to push him back with them. Brent tried to close the distance, but he couldn't early, and then Clay kind of ripped to the body, and then he got drawn in. And then there was a double leg, which is unsuccessful for Brent, but he got to the clinch, he got a body locked. Clay defends it well, but eventually he was pulled to the ground, as tends to happen in Clay Collard fights when he gets in that position. And Brent took the back as Clay was on all fours, and he was in that position for ages. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen a fight where a guy, who Brent Primus in this case, was in the air for most of the fight. Like, there was no part of his body touching the ground for about 7 minutes of this fight, because he kept getting back in that position. A few seconds ground and pound in the end, but definitely a Primus round. Second round, Clay landed a few right hands, but rushes in again. Clinch, trip takedown for Brent. Got into the mount, took the back, and again, Clay stands with Brent on his back. A lot of ground and pound in the air. I know what you'd call it if it's in the air. It's not ground and pound. But Clay started bleeding and then fell. And Primus upped the ante, loads of punches, rear naked choke, try late, landed so many punches. I think it was a 10-8 round for Brent Primus there. But in the third, things kind of changed. Clay stopped the takedown. He was landing. He was, he was like, okay, Primus looks tired here. Throw your jab, throw your right hand. Use your footwork. He's tired. But what did he do? Came in and threw a flying knee, gets taken down. Pushes Brent off and gets under to get out, which was very good. But then a clinch takedown for Brent Primus again. Clay got up with Brent still attached, but got down again. Brent took his back in the air again. Same thing with Clay, slammed him down, got on top, ground and pound. Up, Clay landed to the body, and then he landed another body kick, and it spin, but spun into the clinch. And I'm like, what are you doing? What's happening here? Brent took his back, and I just wrote all over my notes. I stopped taking notes at that stage, about 60 seconds to go, because, so it was one of those. It was one of those where you're looking at it and you're going, you have a chance here. You have a much of a chance, right? There's no doubt about it. He probably still wouldn't have won, but it's just... I can't imagine going back, and if you're the fighter and watching that fight afterwards, you must just be kicking yourself. But having said that, great performance from Brent Primus, the old dog for the hard road, you know. That's exactly what he was, and he goes to the finale to meet Rabadanov, and you know, Rabadanov will be a big favourite, but who's to say Primus won't knock a few doors down. Right, let's run through the rest of the fights here. The other fight on the main card was Biaggio Ali Walsh, who's, as we know, the grandson of Muhammad Ali, fighting Brian Stapleton. He looked good, but, you know, this was a mousetrap here. He absolutely destroyed him. Couple of jabs, knocked him down. Nice head movement from Ali Walsh. He slipped a jab, countered it with the right hand, and knocked Brian Stapleton down. Let me get you the time here. It was very, very quick. 55 seconds into round one. So that was basically it. That was basically the whole lot of the fight, and he won there. The most controversial fight of the night was Danny Sabatello against Lazaro Derian, which ended in a majority draw. One judge had it for Danny Sabatello, and I'll tell you what, if another judge had it for Danny Sabatello, this is robbery of the year all over, because there's no doubt about it who won this fight, apart from the point destruction, which we'll talk about in a second. Sabatello won the second, but Darren won the first, and he definitely won the third. There's no doubt about it, but let's get into it. The fight started off with a flying knee from Sabatello, a scramble, which was very, very fun. Danny got a body lock takedown, or went for a body lock takedown, but it was stopped. Darren went inside trip, and he got on top, but Danny Sabatello got up very, very easily. Darren went for a double leg, and it caused a lot of scrambles. Great fight. Very, very fun. Got back to the feed. Danny landed a couple of knees in the clinch, and then the shot that changed the fight, Darren landed a massive overhand right, which it slept Danny Sabatello. There's no doubt about that. It just so happened, I think, when he hit the ground, he woke up and he continued fighting. He scrambled and wrestled. It was as good a punch as you'll ever land without knocking a guy out. That's how good this punch was from Lazaro Derian. Beautiful shot. Danny wrestled to survive, but Darren got back up, and he was landing a few shots, landed another right hand. Danny got a takedown, got into half guard, landed a bit, and Darren lands a few shots again towards the end of the round. I could see a 10-8 there, to be honest. It was such a good shot. Landed a few shots after it, but maybe Sabatello did enough to survive. Round two, Sabatello tried for a takedown, but it was no good. Got into a clinch, got back into the open, and Darren was hurting him again. And then he tried to wrestle for some insane reason. I couldn't believe it. And Danny ended up getting his back. Got up to the clinch, and Darren spins, and Danny got another takedown. He landed a big suplex and smashed him off of the ground. A lot of chain wrestling from Sabatello then towards the end of the round, and he won that one. No doubt about it. So it was 1-1 at that stage. Round three, bit of slower striking. Derian was just defending takedowns, sprawling really, really well. He landed a lovely left hook after he missed a few right hands. But he was landing shots. There was no doubt about it. He was eating Sabatello up here. Straight right hands were very, very hard. He was miles ahead for me. And then Danny went for a takedown. They got into the clinch. Danny kind of jumped on his back into the body triangle. And then what changed it all, Darren grabbed the cage as Sabatello was on his back and was trying to kind of throw him to the ground. The referee saw it, came over, and deducted a point immediately. And I, as people might know, I'm very much against point deductions like that. This one, you know, it's becoming more regular, and I really don't like it. I don't think people have fully put thought into this. Like, that point deduction scored more than the guy getting his lights knocked out in the first round. And that is not right. That's just not right. You know, could he have given the position? Could he have put him on the ground with the body triangle? Actually, what I thought was really bad was he still had the body triangle. He was still on his back, and the referee stopped it and separated him. Jeez, that's nearly worse. That's nearly worse than the Vince grab. The referee affected it more. Now, I wouldn't blame the referee too much. I just don't like the rule, and I don't like how it's officiated. He could have warned him. He really could have warned him. Give him a hard warning. Let the fight go. what was likely to happen was Sabatello would have pulled him down anyway and got the same position. If he didn't, you could have done something. You could have waited, given yourself a second. But anyway, he did nothing for the rest of the round, Sabatello. And there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. This was a 9-9 round, right? With the point deduction. Darren definitely won this round. Definitely won this round. There seems to be a tendency sometimes when there's a point taken, we'll give it, that's a 10-8 round. But it's not. And this was not a 10-8 round to Sabatello. No doubt about it. Thankfully, 2 of the judges got it right. I know what the other lad was doing, but yeah, draw. And, you know, I suppose after the point deduction was a fair result. But Darren was by far the better fighter here. And I think if they fought again, he'd probably win. So hopefully they put it together. Although Sabatello did retire afterwards on Twitter, it seemed like. So we'll see how that goes. Then we had Mads Burnell versus Elvin Espinosa. I told you it would be a close fight, and I told you Mads Burnell would win, and I was right. So early doors, Elvin win for the clinch, as I predicted as well. Even though the earlier fight, I got it wrong, and the commentary got it right. I think this one, I got it right, and the commentary got it wrong, because they were a bit perplexed by it. But I always thought Espinosa was going to clinch and try to take him down here, but it didn't really work. Mads won the clinch, and it went on for about 2 minutes. They exchanged hooks. But Mads' numbers, the volume here from Mads Burnell really won him. That was the story of this fight. Mads Burnell's volume, very, very good. A lot of clinching, Mads pushing in, close range exchange. But Mads Burnell was winning everything. But then Elvin Espinosa landed 2 lovely body kicks. Mads was pressuring him loads and landing loads of strikes. Elvin hurt him with another body kick. But the volume, you know, we often say, all right, volume doesn't beat damage. But the volume was damaging Espinosa as well. Like, there's no doubt about it. Mads is landing some good kicks. Close round. I would lean Elvin, though, based on damage, you know. So, if you'd give it to Mads Burnell, I wouldn't disagree with you completely at all. Second round started with 3 kicks from Elvin. But the Mads Burnell volume just took over. But Elvin had to answer back, and he did. Fair play to him. He answered back with volume of his own. And then Mads got into the clinch after that. Elvin went for a takedown but failed, and Mads dropped him with a right hand. Went for the darts, big right hand as well. Went for the darts, got into the mount, landed some ground and pound. Elvin got up, but Mads was landing loads, but clinched again. I thought he could have maybe got the finish there. Lands on the break. And then Peterson stopped it for a strike. As Elvin didn't defend himself after a grind strike, and again, a little bit lucky there. I thought that could have been a 10-8 round as well. It was close enough to it, but definitely a Mads Burnell round. The third round then, Mads got into the clinch, and then he landed some knees to the body. There were strikes in the clinch as well. Mads broke and then clinched again. This time Mads got a takedown after he went for it a couple of times, but it quickly got up. Clinch again, clinch. It tends to happen when there's no elbows. We see a lot of clinching, even enough on the feed. Then Mads got a big double leg in the middle of the cage, half guard, and it was all over. Mads Burnell was the winner, and I think rightly so. So those were the big main fights of the night, but there was 3 others as well, which we will talk about. Tadjin versus Chris Brown. This Chris Brown, an absolute mad lad altogether. Just like Dan Hardy, I think, described him as Bart Simpson. You know, he's just throwing those, absolutely insane. But Jean had a massive crowd for him, and Brown was just wild, throwing limbs. He was having a bit of success. Though. He's so unorthodox. He's hard to time. Keeps throwing these fall away kicks after punches, and Gene was taking his time. He did well, you know, landing a couple of counters, but Brown was kind of getting tired. Gene landing more in the second half of the round. Right hand robble, Brown gets to the ground. Gene on top, mountain side control, but Brown rose quickly. Do you know what? I thought Brown landed the best shots early. I thought it was close. I didn't give it to him. A lot of people gave him the second. I didn't. I think Jean was way better in the second. He was being first now in that. Brown was still throwing loads, but he was landing nothing. Gene's straight shots and tight hooks were very nice. Brown put him on his knees, but I think he was off balance in that one. And in the third round, Brown was tired at this stage and not throwing as much, so it turned into a more normal fight. The left hooks were on point for Jean, teeps to the body. Jean failed on a couple of takedowns, but landed a head kick, so he was well ahead. Brown did land a couple of check hooks. Jean landed a takedown, or goes for a takedown but gets to the clinch, and then Brown landed 5 or 6 shots late. And I actually think he robbed that round, you know. So Brown stole the third. I had John winning the first 2, but I could see Brown winning the first as well. And a lot of people have Brown winning the second, so it was one of those fights, very, very close. But I think John was the better fighter. You know, Brown was too wild and too mad, I think, in that fight altogether. Then we Jordan Oliver against Brandon Akeo. Very interesting fight. Jordan Oliver is this, you know, what was he, 2-time NCAA wrestling champion or something. But I'll tell you what, Brandon Akeo to me looks like a better prospect, even though the result didn't quite go for him. But Oliver landed an early leg kick and landed some throughout. Akeo, just a better fighter. He's switching stances, checking kicks, landing straight shots. No takedown attempts from Oliver, and I thought Akeo won that round. Second round, Oliver was getting into the tie clinch, but Akeo landed some better elbows I put inside. And there was a couple of elbows. There was also a spinning elbow at one stage, and I'm like, fair play, Chad. The referee wouldn't call them anyway. But Oliver was landing better, though, towards the midpoint of the second round. Landed a nice couple of uppercuts, and then hurt Akeo with an overhand right and a straight left, and a straight right, sorry, after that, before that kind of spinning elbow. And I think it's even at that point. Early takedown for Jordan Oliver, but Akeo fights up in the third. A long clinch, nearly 4 minutes. Akeo jab, Jordan Oliver left hook, both land well. Jordan Oliver gets a takedown, and I think that late ground and pound wins it for him. I really do. A very, very close fight. Really close fight and a really fun fight. But, you know, Jordan Oliver probably did deserve it in the end. But I think Akeo, he's, what is he, 0-1 now in his career. 27 years of age, you know, sorry, he's not, am I gone mad? No, this wasn't the first fight of his career. I'm gone insane. 5-3 in his career. Sorry, this is his first fight in the PFL, so 0-1 in the PFL. But I like him. You know, he's had a fight in Bellator before and stuff, but I do really, really like him. The biggest destruction of the night, apart from maybe the Ali Walsh fight, was, well, no, it was bigger actually. Michelle Montague, who destroyed Marela Moraes in 144. You can tell sometimes when two people line up in the cage who's going to win, and this was one of those fights. Michelle Montague, so much they did a glove tap, and from the glove tap she tapped with the left and punched with the right, one of those ones. Rushed into the clinch, picked up and slammed her down in the middle of the cage, which I thought was smart. She picked her up against the cage, and then she took her out into the middle of the cage and slammed her down. Side control, Kimura, very nearly tapped, went for the armbar. I love the way she commentated afterwards on the failed Kimura and armbar. And the Kimura was nearly there, but the armbar not so much. Nearly tapped to the Kimura, I thought, but she ended up getting the back, rear naked choke, and a tap very, very early. So definitely want to look forward to in the 145-pound tournament next year if they have one. Obviously the Cyborg fight is coming up against Pacheco. We also have Liam McCord coming up against Sarah Collins pretty soon. You like the likes of Sinead Kavanagh and others as well. So I'm looking forward to maybe a big tournament next year, and Montague is definitely someone I think who should be in it. So there you go. Let's just go quickly through the results again. Impa Kasanganay defeated Joshua Silveira in the main event by unanimous decision. He will meet Dovletdzhan Yagshimuradov, who also won a unanimous decision over Rob Wilkinson in the light heavyweight finale. In the lightweight finale, it will be Gadzhi Rabadanov and Brent Primus after Gadzhi beat Michael Dufort via second round knockout, and Brent Primus won the unanimous decision over Clay Collard. It was a draw between Danny Sabatello and Lazaro Darion. Just before that, or just after that, even Biaggio, Ali Walsh defeated Brian Stapleton in the first round knockout, and there was the unanimous decision wins for Matt Burnell, Tad Jean and Jordan Oliver over Espinoza Brown and Akeo respectively. And then to open the night, Michelle Montague, as I just said, got the submission in the first round over Marla Moraes. Alright everybody, thank you very much for tuning in. Please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and we'll see you next week for another PFL preview first and in review as well. Until then, my name is Sheehan for Sherdog.com. We'll see you all next time.